We continue now at the top of Daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph and Meseches Makkos. This is Makkos Daf 23a. And the previous Amud, the Mishnah said that before a person gets Malkus, we tear his clothing. And the Gemara now says, "My time, what's the reason? Mishum Nikla, because the person is supposed to be Nikla, he's supposed to be debased, and that's why we tear his clothing." And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Sheshes Mishum Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. Rav Sheshes says in the name of Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, Minayin l'ritzua shehi shel egel. How do we know that the strap that is used to give the person Malkus is made out of the hide of a calf? Because it's written in the pasuk Arboim Yakeno. That's the pasuk that's talking about the 40 Malkus. B'samach le lo sachsom shor b'disho, and then the pasuk nearby talks about a shore, an ox, and so that's how you see that it comes from the hide of a cow. And the Gemara continues, V'amar Rav Sheshes Mishum Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. Rav Sheshes says in the name of Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, Minayin liyavama shenafla lifnei muka shchin. From where do we know? Let's say you have a yavama and she's supposed to do yibum, but the brother-in-law she's supposed to do yibum with is a muka shchin. He's a person who has boils. So she'ein chos menosa. So we don't compel her to do yibum with that individual. Because it's written in the pasuk lo sachsom shor b'disho. Again, the same pasuk of lo sachsom, which is talking about not muzzling the ox while it's engaged in its work. V'samach le kiyeshu achem yachtav, and then the pasuk says nearby, that's the pasuk that kiyeshu achem yachtav is the pasuk referring to yibum, and so we understand from lo sachsom she'ein chos menosa, we don't compel her to be with a muka shchin. And the Gemara continues, V'amar Rav Sheshes Mishum Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. And Rav Sheshes says, in the name of Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, Kol hamevaza es hamoadim, anybody who disgraces the yomim tovim, kilu oved avodah zarah, it's as if he's serving avodah zarah, dechsiv, as it's written, Elohei masechet lo saseh. That's the pasuk about not worshiping idols, v'samech lei, and nearby it says, it's Chag hamatzos tishmor, it talks about keeping Chag hamatzos, talks about keeping the holidays, and so therefore, again, we learn out, somebody who does not keep the holidays properly, it's as if he serves avodah zarah. And the Gemara continues, V'yamar Rav Sheshes Mishum Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. Rav Sheshes says in the name of Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, Kol ha-mesaper lashon hara, anybody who speaks lashon hara, v'chol ha-mekava lashon hara, anybody who accepts lashon hara, v'chol ha-meid edus sheker, and anybody who testifies falsely, roy lahashlichu l'klav mitzvit, that we should throw that person to the dogs. Techsiv, as it's written, like kelev tashlichun, also you should throw it to the dogs. V'samech lei, and nearby it says lo siso shem ashav, that refers to accepting this kind of testimony. And kari beinami lo sashi, also we read it as lo sashi, which means relaying these kinds of words, again lashon hara or edus sheker. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said ushtei ritzuos, that you have two ritzuos straps. And the Gemara says, Tana, it was taught shel chamor. There's another two straps that go up and down that are made from the hide of a donkey. It's like the drasha that a particular Galilean made to Rav Chisda. The pasuk says, Yada shor koneu v'chamor evos ba'olav. It says that the shore knows who its master is and knows who its owner is, and the donkey knows the trough, evos ba'olav, it knows the trough of its master. Yisrael lo yada b'klal Yisrael, they don't know their master, they don't know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so we learn from that pasuk, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Yavo mishamakir evos ba'olav, the one who recognizes the trough of its owner. Meaning the shore and the chamor mentioned in this pasuk in Yeshayahu, they should come, the hide of those animals should be used for the strap. The yifra mimi sheino makir evos ba'olav, that should be the punishment. They should be used to punish the person who does not recognize the trough of his master. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Yoda tefach. It said that the handle of the strap is a tefach, and it went through the dimensions. And the Mishnah went on to say that the strap should be long enough that when the person is struck from the back, that the strap will curve around to the top of the person's abdomen. And the Gemara says, Amar Abai says, Shema, we see from this, Kol chad v'chad, l'fum gabe avdin olei, that for every single person who gets malchus, we make a strap according to his size. Amar le Rava said to him, he said to Abai, Kain, if that were the case, nafish l'hu ritzuos tuva, so you'd have a lot of straps, you'd have way too many straps. Elam Rava, rather Rava says, avaksa isla, it has some loops. Ki boy mekater be, ki boy merapabus. If you need to, you tighten it, you make it a little smaller. If you need to make it a little longer, so you loosen those loops. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Malkin also, that when we give him the Malkus, we give him 1/3 in the front of his body and 2/3 from behind the back of his body. The Gemara says, Menohani Mili, from where do we know this? Amar Rav Kahana says, Diamar Krutz, because the pasuk says, V'hipilu hashofet v'hiko lefon of kidei rishaso b'misbar, and we understand that pasuk to mean risha achas, one wickedness, milafonov, that's going to be in front of him. In other words, means to say that's going to be 1/3 of the lashes are in front of him, and shtei rishayos, 2 rishayos, me'achrav, that's going to be behind, that's 2/3. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Ein malkin oso v'chulu, and the Mishnah went on to say that the ritzua, the strap, is folded over, it's doubled over. Amar Rav Chisda, Amar Rav Yochanan. Rav Chisda says that Rav Yochanan says, Minayin l'ritzua shi muchbelas. From where do we know that the strap is doubled over, folded over? Shenemar, as it says, v'hipilo. It says v'hipilo. We learned that even though that's really talking about the person being hunched over, we also understand it means to fold over the strap. But the Gemara asks, Vami boile legufe, but don't we need it for what the pasuk is talking about? Again, that the person needs to be hunched over. If that's all the pasuk meant, it would have said yatehu. My hipilo. Why does it say this language of hipilo? Shmami natarti. So you see from here both ideas that he should be hunched over, and that also you should fold over the strap. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. Hamake maka biyadu. The person who's striking, he strikes with his hand. Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught. Ein ma'amidin chazonin. We don't appoint attendants who are going to give these malchus. Ela chasere koach. They have to be lacking in strength, so they're not so strong. V'yasere mad, and they have to be knowledgeable people. Rabbi Yehuda says no. Afilu chasire mad. Even the other way around. Even if they don't have knowledge, v'yasere koach, and they have a lot of strength, that is fine as well. And the Gemara continues on. Rava says, Kivasi de Rabbi Yehuda mistabra. Makes sense what Rabbi Yehuda is saying, that they are chaseri mad and yaseri koach. Because it's written, Lo Yosef pen Yosef. It says that we have to tell the person that he shouldn't give too many lashes. Yamrid b'shlama chaseri mad. If you're going to say that the people lack knowledge, hainu detzarach lazuri. That's why you would need to give them such a warning, because they don't understand that. Elo yamrid yaseri mad. But if you're going to say that they're people who have a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge, mitzarach lazuri, would we need to give them such a warning? But the Gemara says, but the Rabbanan would respond to this argument exactly the opposite. Ein mezars and lemezar is only somebody who's careful, who wants to do the right thing. That's the person that you point him, that you implore him to do the right thing. You point him in the right direction. And the Gemara continues, Tana was taught, Kishu Magbia, when he lifts up his hands, Magbia v'shtei yadav, he lifts up with both hands the strap, Uchashu Makin, when he strikes the person, Maka b'yadav achas, then he strikes with one hand, Kihechi deleisim yididei, so that it should come from him. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, "V'hakore kore." It says that the person who's reading, he reads the psukim as the lashes are being administered. Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, "Hagadol shebedayonin." The greatest of the judges, kore, he's the one that reads the psukim. Hasheni, the second judge, Mona, he's the one that counts. V'hashlishi omer hiko, and then the third judge is the one that says strike him. Bisman shemaka meruba marich, at the time when there's a lot of malchus to give, so he lengthens how he reads the psukim. And bisman shemaka muetas mekatzer, when there's a small amount of makos, he reads it in a quicker way. The idea is that he should time the reading of the psukim according to the lashes that are being given. But the Gemara continues, V'anan tanan, but didn't we learn in the Mishnah, Choser l'tchil samikra? It says, on the contrary, he just reads the psukim, and then if he needs to start over, he just keeps starting over again. And the Gemara answers to that, mitzvah l'tzamsim. The mitzvah is to actually do it exact. V'lod simsim, but if he didn't get it exactly, so Choser l'tchil samikra. So then he starts again from the beginning of the psukim. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Mako Rabba, it says a great amount of lashes. Ein li'ela Mako Rabba. I only know that if the person goes over by a lot. Maka muetas minayin. How do we know that even if he does one extra strike, one extra malchus, that's problematic? Talmud lomar lo Yosef. It says lo Yosef, he shouldn't add on anything. Imkein ma Talmud lomar Mako Rabba. If so, why does it say Mako Rabba? Limed al harishonos. It teaches the first ones, shehein Mako Rabba, that they are great in terms of their strength. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Niskalkel, if the person sullies themselves, so then they are exempt. And the Gemara says, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, Echaro ish ve'echaro isha, when it comes to both the man and the woman, so berei, it's only if they sully themselves with excrement, velo b'mayim, but not with urine. That's the only time that they're exempt, as if it's berei. Divrei Rabbi Meir, that's what Rabbi Meir says. Rabbi Yehuda says, Ho'ish berei, a man is exempt only with excrement, v'isha b'mayim, but a woman can be exempt even with urine. V'chachamim, and the chachamim say, Echaro ish ve'echaro isha, whether the man, whether the woman, bein berei, bein b'mayim. It doesn't matter if it's excrement, doesn't matter if it's urine, they are exempt. The Gemara continues, Vatanya, but didn't we learn in the Brisa? Rabbi Yehuda says, Echaro ish ve'echaro isha berei. It says the man and the woman, they're both exempt with excrement. That contradicts what we just quoted Rabbi Yehuda. Before we quoted Rabbi Yehuda that the man is with excrement and the woman is even with urine. The Gemara answers, Amar of Nachman bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak says, Shneihem shavin berei. What it means is they're both equivalent when it comes to excrement, meaning both man and woman would be exempt berei, but a woman additionally, according to Rabbi Yehuda, will be exempt b'mayim as well. Gemara continues, Amar Shmuel says, Kafsu, if they tie him up, v'ratzmi bezdin, and then he runs away from bezdin, so pater, so he's going to be exempt in such a situation, he does not receive the malchus. And the Gemara continues, Meisvei, we have a question from the following Brisa. It says, Kolo, it says, let's say he sullies himself, he debases himself, bein barishona, bein b'shnia, whether the first time, meaning whether he hasn't gotten any malchus yet, or b'shnia, let's say he he got one, he was struck once. In either situation, pochano, so he would be exempt. Nifsaka ritzua, now if the strap, if it broke, so b'shni, if it broke on the second time they're hitting him, meaning they've already given him some malchus, so pochano, so then he's exempt. But barishona, but if it's already the first, he hasn't been struck at all, ain't pochano, so then he is not exempt. And so the Gemara asks, Amai, so why is that the case? Lahave karatz, that should be the same thing as running away. And Shmuel just said that when he runs away, even in a situation where he runs away and he got no malchus, he is exempt. So why is that different? And the Gemara answers, Hasam Ratz, over there he ran away, so it's different. Hachalo Ratz, here he didn't run away, so it's not the same. And Rashi explains, Kala, again the Brisa said, if he sullies himself, Niskalkel Barei, again the case over here is with excrement. And Rashi continues, Bein Barishona, Bein Bishniya, so it said if it's Kala, whether before or after he's starting getting Malchus, Bein Kodem Sheiko Klal, whether that's before he was struck at all, Bein Lachar Sheiko, whether it's after he struck him. V'hainu Rishona, when we say Rishona here, we mean Hagba Rishona, we mean when the person lifts up his arm, he's ready to strike. Shemagbia Yodo Lahakos, he lifts up his hand to strike him, and Niskalkel Ba'osa Hagba Machmas Pachad, if he then sullies himself because that person lifted the strap because he's afraid. Let's say the second time, meaning after he was already struck. In both situations, pochano, so he's exempt. And nikle karinabe, that's called nikle. To hakala, that's a situation where he was debased. But then the Brisa said nifsaka ritzua. Let's say the ritzua, let's say it breaks in bahagba shnia nifsaka. If the second time he's already been struck, then it breaks pochano, so then he's exempt. To hanikle ba'osa hakah sheiko, because then he was considered debased when he got struck that first time. But if it broke before he was ever struck, when he was lifting his hand ready to strike, that's already not called being debased. He's not exempt in that situation, and the Gemara eventually said that's different than running away. By running away, that's always going to be a reason for exemption. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabban, and the rabbis taught, if they evaluate that when they're going to give him malchus, then he'll be debased with excrement at that time, so pochano, so then he's exempt. But let's say they estimate that after he leaves the court, then he's going to debase himself with excrement, so then malkano, so then they still give him the malchus. Not only that, even if before he starts getting lashes, he debases himself with excrement, malkano, so they still give him the lashes. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk v'ko v'nikla, it says they strike him, and that causes that he debases himself with excrement. V'lo shenilka kvar bebezin, not that already happened to him in court beforehand. And the Gemara continues with the Mishnah, Kol chayve krisos shalaku, all chayve krisos that get malchus, nifteru yedei krisosim, they are then exempt, and they won't get the kares. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, v'nikla achicha le'einecha, and we understand that to mean kisha laka, once he gets malchus, hareu ka'achicha, he's now like your brother, he's not going to get the kares. Divrei Rabbi Chananya ben Gamliel, these are the words of Rabbi Chananya ben Gamliel. V'yamar Rabbi Chananya ben Gamliel, and Rabbi Chananya ben Gamliel says, Ma im ha'over avera achas, if somebody who violates one avera, notel nafsho eleh, his soul can be taken because of that. Ha'osa mitzvah achas, so if somebody does one mitzvah, achas kama v'kama, all the more so, shetinasin lo nafsho, that his soul will be given to him. And the Mishnah continues, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Mimakoma hu lamed, we can learn that out from its place, from the source. Shenemar, as it says, V'nichrusu hanefashos ha'osos, it says those who commit these sins, they're going to get kares. V'yomer, and it says, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video, on Daf Chav Gimel Amid Beis.